One quiet English lane hides a story so disturbing that locals still avoid it after dark. This is the true tale of Ghost House Lane. A place that in the 1800s echoed with unexplainable knocks in the night and perhaps something far more sinister. This story takes us to Chilwell, a village near Nottingham, England. Yes, that Nottingham, the legendary home of Robin Hood. On the 26th of January 1838, the Nottingham Journal reported supernatural disturbances at a property known locally as the Ash Flat House. The sounds of banging and thudding against the windows had been waking its inhabitants and rattling the nerves of the entire village. Let's start with where this happened. Ghost House Lane still exists today. Split in two by tram tracks, the southern stretch is a modern residential street, but to the north, a narrow tree-lined path, what locals call a twitchell, leads toward the long demolished site of the Ash Flat House. Back in the 1830s, this house stood amid orchards and flower fields owned by a local businessman and nurseryman, Mr. John Pearson. The house was mostly occupied by agricultural labourers working on his land. Originally, the residents were John Bagley, his wife Jane, and their children. The Bagleys were not well liked by their neighbours. Two of the daughters, Diana and Jane, were convicted of larceny in 1837. Diana was sentenced to 6 months in prison. Jane got 4. That, along with Diana having several children out of wedlock, unapproved of in Victorian times, was enough to convince Mr. Pearson to evict the family. The new tenants, the Adcock family, moved in shortly after, and that's when the disturbances began. Each night, strange knocks echoed through the house, waking the Adcocks and frightening the villagers. With no internet, no television, and certainly no YouTube, people gathered at the house to see the haunting for themselves, much like they would later flock to hear the infamous Fox sisters in Hydesville. So, what was really going on? Mr. Pearson decided to investigate. He stayed in the house on 2 consecutive nights, and nothing happened. No sounds, no knocks. But on the 3rd night, there it was, a loud thud against the window shutter, like a massive swede or turnip had been hurled at the house. Now determined, Pearson dug trenches around the house looking for wires. He set traps using blackened paper frames to catch any tampering, but the noises continued, without visible cause, without footprints in the snow, and without any torn paper. He was baffled. He even offered a reward to anyone who could solve the mystery. If you're intrigued by real historical mysteries and haunted places just like this one, please consider subscribing to the Unquiet Archive. It helps me keep digging into forgotten stories, and there are more chilling cases ahead. In 1850, 12 years later, the haunting was in the news again. Why? Because John Bagley had just died. And with his death, new rumours began to circulate. Central to these rumours was the disappearance of a Scottish pedlar named McQuince. He sold drapery goods door to door and often stayed overnight with customers. He was last seen selling items to a nearby neighbour before heading to the Ash Flat House. He never returned to collect payment. Early that same morning, before 4 a.m, a local man, Mr. Lee, felt a sudden, overwhelming need to go to the Ash Flat House, a kind of premonition. There, in the dark, he found John Bagley digging in his garden. McQuince was never seen again. On her deathbed in 1841, Jane Bagley, John's wife, was overheard telling her husband, "I could hang you any day." She claimed to hold a secret about him, but John refused to let anyone near her until she was dead. Whatever she knew, she took it with her. Years later, Bagley remarried. His new wife, Mary, recalled that he was tormented by nightmares. He would wake screaming that someone was coming for him. She watched as his health declined, as his eyes rolled back in his head, and eventually he died in a state of terror. Just before his death, he muttered something cryptic. "The pig is in the brook." Remember Mr. Lee's testimony? Bagley was seen digging in the early hours, possibly with a pickaxe. Was it the murder weapon? Was it hidden in the brook, buried beneath the surface like a guilty conscience? We'll never know for sure, but the echoes of that crime, if it was a crime, may have reverberated through the house long after. As Mr. Pearson said at the time, "I have given you the facts. You must draw your own conclusions." Maybe this is a story for Sherlock Holmes, or maybe it's a case for the Unquiet Archive. So, was the Ashflat house haunted, or was the real horror something far more human? If you've got a theory, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. Ghost House Lane remains. There's no plaque, there's no memorial, just a street with a name that remembers something too many have chosen to forget. Thank you for joining me at the Unquiet Archive. If you enjoy stories where the past refuses to stay buried, don't forget to like and subscribe. There are more tales waiting to be unearthed.